Well, emergency preparedness encompasses a very wide variety of topics. It basically is designed to give the citizenry information on how to be prepared for all types of hazards, whether it's bad weather, tornado, flood, earthquake, hazardous material spill. Um, there is tons of information on the internet on emergency preparedness, having water supply at your home, batteries, radios, um, portable radios. There's just a plethora of information on emergency preparedness.
So it happens on multiple levels. Individual preparedness would be just talking about how you prepare yourself and your family for the kinds of emergencies you would expect to happen around you.
The biggest thing is to practice their plan. Most people will take the time to put together a plan, but they won't practice it. And in the middle of the night, when you're woke up out of a sound sleep, it's very hard to remember, I need to do this or this or this. So that's why we encourage people to practice the plan.
As much research as we've done in emergency management, and as much as we've learned over time, emergency management, I don't want to call it trial and error, but sometimes it feels like that, right?
I think we lead the way because we've had more practice, which isn't what we want, but when you have more practice with the college, we are a college town. OSU is here and the biggest part of our town. And unfortunately, we've had 2 plane crashes and now the homecoming.
Mostly it's cost prohibitive for cities because it does cost money to do it, and it's not just time; it costs resources and manpower and time. It's very time intensive, and for a lot of cities, they don't have the expertise. So they might have an emergency manager, but their emergency manager is really their fire chief, right? And their fire chief is trained in fire, which is one thing that makes our program very interesting, right? It's fire and emergency management. So we're doing both at the same time, and hopefully maybe someday we'll see some of the fruits of that with places where the fire chief is also the emergency manager. So
We spend a significant sum of money every year in having an emergency management department and in preparedness. They run a budget of about, well, overall we spend somewhere between $550,000 and $600,000 a year to maintain the employees who maintain emergency management systems that we have.
well, emergency plans are kind of interesting. So there aren't really, when you think about the number of cities in the state of Oklahoma, there's actually a relatively small fraction of cities, there, proportion of cities that actually have hazard mitigation plans, but they're very important. Moore did not have an actionable hazard mitigation plan at the time of the tornadoes. It was under consideration but had not been approved yet. The Stillwater did, and so Stillwater was able to take advantage of that funding even though they had no damage. And so Stillwater took advantage of the hazard mitigation funding that was made available and made it available to the public through an application process for individuals to put storm shelters in their houses. So
You can't have the attitude, well, it's not going to happen here, because certainly there are all kinds of emergencies that can happen just about anywhere at any time.